I think that March has been, in several notable respects, largely a return to form for me. After really struggling with a lot of things in January and February, the last month really did feel like getting properly back on my feet. My coping mechanisms had less of a stranglehold on my existence. I was able to comfortably go out a number of times for different things, even when I was still very overwhelmed with some stuff, which was not possible for me the last couple of months prior. I was able to relax a bit more and enjoy myself in ways that wasn't necessarily being swallowed by video production, and I've also managed to let go of that overly anxious grip on myself consciously more than just unconsciously. There's been a lot going on in my life this year, and I feel like I'm actually getting to grips with it, at least as of the end of March and beginning of April. Furthermore, there is finally an official plan and start date with regards to my new full-time job. I'm taking a short business trip this month, and I also feel like I have a better balance on my spiritual existence to boot. More on all of these things a little bit at the end of the video. For now, March has also been a relative return to form for my channel and statistics and all of that fun jazz. The main reason for this video's existence is to wrap all that up, and although the continued excessive video schedule might be partially to blame or thank for some of that, let's talk about the videos and highlights. Starting off, I did do 4 update videos, just as I tend to do. Each month I tend to average 3 update videos because of the state of affairs, and then 2 Fortnite on the Isle videos that come out. This month, there were enough Sundays for there to actually be 3 Fortnite on the Isles, so there were 4 update videos, and otherwise, between all the individual channels, I posted 11 videos on the main channel, plus also did a collab with another, which we'll talk about in just a second, and then on my second channel, I did 12 videos, plus 5 live streams besides, and on the third channel, it didn't post any new videos, so this total video schedule grand total ended up being 31 videos or streams over the course of March, which kind of matched with the 28, or was it 29 technically, videos or streams that I did in February, which matches to 1 video or stream every day, and that is what has happened the last couple months. It's been kind of a trip being able to produce all of that stuff. So what were some of the videos and whatnot that came out in March that I was most proud of? Well, I'm going to say on the main channel, analyzing my favorite books of the decade so far was pretty fun. That thumbnail is actually outdated. That should also include 2025 in there. I don't know why it doesn't. My review for Sphere by Michael Crichton happened to pop off for reasons that I'm still not entirely sure about. I also did the part 2 tier list for Stephen King, going through all of his material. That's been a long time coming. The next episode will be even longer coming. And then my collab was with Samwise over on his channel. I featured over there, and that was a great discussion. On the second channel, I did various reviews that I was proud of. I did a review on American Psycho, comparing it to my experience with the book and how I think it's a fantastic adaptation. I did impressions on the demo for Grime 2, a game that just came out yesterday, as of the day that I'm recording this video. And then I also did a discography ranking for one of my favorite bands, Before I Turn. And that was a heck of a lot of fun to revisit their material. I did a brief review on Power Wash Simulator, which might seem weird to call out here, but this video is actually one of the better performing on the second channel. Don't know why, but it was good. And then I also did a review on Project Hail Mary, also discussing how that is a great adaptation. Nothing else came out on the third channel, but I'll shout out my short story that I posted there in February, because that was what got me statistics on the third channel this month. And speaking of statistics, how did my channels actually do? Pretty well. Like I said, a little bit of a return to form in very many regards. Basically, everything was up across the main couple of channels anyway. That means I had over 2,000 views on the main channel, up about 22%, 276 watch hours, which was up nearly 40%, and then nearly 40,000 impressions, up again 36% or so. What was the view count percentage? Just 22? So, up in all of the general metrics. up 32 subscribers as well, which finally actually put me at the 1150 mark in subscriber count, although there are like 2 separate asterisks next to that. Sorry for the way I pronounce that. I struggle with that word sometimes, and also English is difficult. Very many of those subscribers over there actually came from Samwise's video. I think I gained probably like 16 subscribers or something just in the handful of days following that video's posting, because we did it as a collaboration. So that explains a large amount of the actual subscribers. I would not have gained that many subscribers naturally. I think that probably around 20 to 25 of those subs came from his channel rather than from my videos directly. So thank you to Samwise for that. The other asterisk is that I actually, at the time of recording this, only have 1,148 subscribers, because 3 people unsubscribed in the 6 hours in between the very end of the month of March and my waking up this morning on April 1st. So that is the count as of the end of March, but it is not the count currently at the time of recording. Who knows what it is when this video actually posts, because that won't be for a handful of days. That's just the way that things go. So, you know, you see that number and it's probably different from the one down below. That's why things change and they fluctuate. I can't be 100% on top of it with all of this stuff. On the second channel, I got 740 views, which was up about 83%. That was a marked increase. My watch hours was basically identical compared to 86.1 last month. I got 86 this month. So again, basically identical for all intents and purposes, the exact same. I had 81,000 impressions between both the live streams and the videos, which was up over 100%. So more than double the impressions. The fact that I got, you know, somewhere approaching double the views is a good sign on that front. The watch hours being relatively speaking a bit down compared to the increases in the other metrics is something that would be cause for concern, I think, but many of the things that actually got attention were things like those review videos, and most of my review videos on the second channel this month were pretty short. You know, American Psycho, Project Hail Mary wasn't that long, but it was longer than the rest. But like the American Psycho review, the Power Wash Simulator review, some of these things were only in the ballpark of like 8 to 12 minutes or something like that. So that kind of explains it. The things that were getting watched were the videos this month, whereas in February, most of the things getting watched, despite the low view counts, were the live streams, and they were being watched for a while. So that explains kind of the disparity there. In terms of subscribers, I also had a net gain of 5 subscribers once again in March, which puts my total on the second channel at 156, and that is where it is at currently at the time of recording. That number actually hasn't done a whole lot of changing this year. It's been going up, but it's not been fluctuating a lot, so that's been really, really nice. As for the third channel, pretty simple. I'm surprised that there's any statistics to even talk about here, because I didn't post any new videos. It was just that one video still that is now a month and a half old over there. 16 views somehow still over the course of March. 1 watch hour in March compared to 2 in February, for example. 314 impressions still compared to 800 or something like that last month. So it's been, you know, still, the video's still been getting watched. It hasn't been watched over the last couple of weeks, but over the first couple of weeks of March, it was still getting a bit of attention. So that's actually pretty cool and encouraging. That video has like 43 views now compared to what it was before, and the average view duration is still basically 50%, which is really high average view duration for something like that. So I'm very encouraged and grateful for all of that. I also gained a subscriber last month. I'm pretty sure that happened like really shortly after the last State of Affairs came out, so I'm fairly certain that that is because somebody actually subscribed based off of that video. I don't know, but in either case, that is the statistics. So let's talk about the writing that I got done in March, which was notably a good bit less than the last couple months, but that's because like February, for example, I was really cranking out like a bunch of review writing. There were a bunch of games that I'd been playing. I was reviewing all of them. Like there are 5 different game reviews that I did in February, for example. There were 2 notable book reviews, and there's a lot of other stuff like that going on. This month I've been a little bit more behind. I only wrote about 10,000 words, well actually closer to 11,000 words grand total for reviews and blog related stuff, because I didn't write any fiction in March. I had a little bit of something that I was considering trying to tackle, but I wasn't in the headspace to try to tackle it, so I have not. But in the review writing space, like I said, just about 11,000 words, and right about 8,800 of those were reading-related words. Only about 3,600 of those were book reviews, where I reviewed Oathbreaker, Penance of Blood, and Perfume by Patrick Zuskind, and Towers of Midnight. But a few of those reviews, and actually more than half of the words, like over 5,200 of those words that I wrote for book-related review stuff, was actually for theology stuff, because I've actually been properly reading theology books recently, and as a means of like grasping it mentally a little bit more and remembering it a bit better, I want to actually review that stuff. So I reviewed First Enoch when I read that, in the middle of reading Genesis, which I also finished and reviewed, and also The Pearl of Great Price, an LDS specific book that I also reviewed over there. That was by far my longest review that I wrote over the course of the month, and if you go and read it, it'll be pretty obvious why. It's because there's a lot to actually discuss in that. But so between all of the different reading that I've done and the reviews for that, 8,800 words there. Basically no other words were written otherwise, though. I technically wrote a little over 500 words in gaming-related stuff, and that was because I have BioShock 2 Remastered. I technically wrote a review for that in February. That ended up being like 3,700 words. The review is now over 4,200 words because I had to add an addendum to that when I went and replayed it again on the hard difficulty to get the Platinum Trophy. So, you know, when that brief review actually comes out, it won't be that brief, but you know, whatever. When that video actually comes out in a couple of months after the Let's Play for the game is done, it'll also have an addendum at the end addressing kind of some additional points that I wanted to add to the review after having played it again. So that's all that I wrote for gaming related stuff, although I did finish playing Ghost of Yote just a couple of days ago at the time of this recording, so at the very end of March, so I do have that review to actually get to in April. I didn't write any words for film-related stuff, which might come as a surprise considering that I did review Project Hail Mary, but that video was off the cuff. I didn't even really have notes for that video, so that actual review for the written review for like Letterboxd and whatnot has not been written yet. There are a couple other things that I was supposed to watch by now, that I had been planning to watch by now, and therefore should have been able to review. Haven't gotten to yet, but one of those things I will be getting to at the very latest this weekend, because that video is supposed to come out Monday. But you know, that's another story that you'll see at some other point. And then on music-related stuff, I did technically write pretty close to 1,400 words in music-related stuff, you know, for my regular, you know, monthly Music Mania coverage, where I talk about all the albums and EPs that I listen to and I review those on a specific review platform. The problem is that that review platform has been very unreliable and just kind of busted for basically all of this year. And when trying to go through and make that video recently for this past Monday, actually, it didn't end up working very well. None of the album pages or anything were actually functional, so I couldn't use those, and the way that I tried to record it otherwise just didn't end up in anything that was like, I'm not going to post this. So I wrote reviews, but none of those have actually been posted or done anything with, and a video regarding that topic never came out either. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do with Music Mania. I might end up discontinuing it at this point because it hasn't been doing any numbers basically since I stopped doing the weekly format nearly a year ago at this point. So yeah, not sure what I'm going to do with that. In either case, speaking of, you know, like discontinuing a video series, for example, let's talk about what I've got planned for this month for April of 2026. And, well, the most notable thing to talk about here is actually that I officially finally start working for High Matter Books come Monday. So this video's release, I believe, is on Sunday. So like starting tomorrow on April 6th, I will actually be working for Christopher Rocchio for High Matter Books. Finally, we were initially wanting me to start in January 5th, but there were a lot of technical complications that caused a lot of delays, multiple instances of it, mostly related to governmental technicalities, which, if you know anything about literally any government, whether federal or local, in this case it's more local government stuff, yeah, there's no surprise that there were some delays associated with that, but there were a lot of delays, so that will be happening imminently. Basically, this month will be spent largely like coming to a new normal because of that. I do have a business trip that I'm going to be taking here this coming weekend, actually, at the time of this video's release. So I have that's going to be going on. And then I will also be posting a video later this month that will be about the I'll probably make a video about the business trip at some point. I don't know. That might be something I do. But I'm definitely going to make a video about actually working for High Matter Books for disclaimer reasons on the main channel. That is something that I feel like is important to do. I technically already addressed this back in a video that I did at the end of December when I thought that I was going to be starting working in just a week or two. But now I'm going to make a more timely, proper, and official one that's like, I work for Christopher Rocchio. Here's the disclaimer. That's something that I will be doing later this month. Otherwise, I'm going to be taking a step back this month, relatively speaking, to basically find, like what I said, that new normal with regards to my life, especially my work-life balance, we shall say. Working for High Matter Books will be the major part of that, the most major part of it. Certainly the most notable part of that will be just figuring out what's going on there and how I actually balance my time with all of that. There's my spirituality thing, like the theology stuff that I addressed a little bit earlier is another big priority that I'm taking back up, and then actually re-upping on exercise properly. Like I've been meaning to for the last couple of months, but I've been too much of a nervous wreck to actually manage to make anything consistent, so I've been coming to that recently as well. So a lot of it's more like personal life things outside of the channel that I'm going to be addressing this month. My new full-time job, even though it is sort of related to the main channel, technically speaking, spirituality, exercise, reconfiguring how my hobbies and therefore my various channels, the content that I create and stuff like that, because for all intents and purposes, even though I consider this work, it is basically a hobby, just reconfiguring how those hobbies and everything, the media that I consume, the things that I just enjoy doing outside of my proper obligations like work, how that actually fits into my life, how work fits into that, how it fits into work, just finding that balance. Like I said, the new normal concept, something that I've repeated various times in this section, that is a lot of what I'm doing. As a result, like I said, that means taking a little bit of a step back, relatively speaking, on content as a result of all of that. I had a video or a stream that happened every single day in February through March, so that was whatever the math at that point is, like 59 straight days of a video or a stream happening, and I had, I want to say, like 23 or 24 days of January that also had the same thing happening with basically every day, certainly like 5 days a week for all of January. So March and April, even though I did actually have a schedule, kind of moving into this month, that was continuing that every single day pace, I kind of figured out, I don't want to say I discovered, but it was near the end of March when it started to actually click for me, like personally, with regards to how I feel about how much time I'm spending doing whatever stuff that I'm doing. It finally started clicking that everyday thing was starting to become unsustainable. It became more of that realistic, like, okay, I now see how this is unsustainable. It's not like I knew that it, or that I thought it would never become unsustainable or anything, because I knew that it was unsustainable the entire time. It was just kind of using content as a sort of coping mechanism with some things that were going on in my personal life, and that was just like the thing that I was doing to distract myself. And now I'm feeling like I need to not be doing content or things that I view as work or enjoyable to some degree, right, as a coping mechanism, because then it's going to be a little bit too difficult to do this. And also, having some free time that isn't just working on stuff would be preferable as well, because the only reason that I was able to do something every day in February and March was because I didn't have my full-time job yet. I was still waiting on that, so it was still possible to be actually going on that grind and doing that. So now that's not going to be as possible anymore, and I need to not be as so dead set on making sure that the video schedule happens the way that it has been anyway, compared to needing to actually do my job, for example. So like I said, taking a little bit of a step back, I want the coping mechanism aspect to stay outside of my work, because that's for God now. I'll still have plenty of content happening over the next couple of months, like, it's not going to change too drastically. There will still be 2 or more videos happening every single week, basically. That's as far as I can, well, maybe that's not a 100% guarantee, but I can more or less guarantee that 2+ videos on both channels every single week will still happen, which means that 4+ videos a week will still probably be happening. But compared to 7, or rather 6 videos a week plus a live stream, that is a little bit different. And speaking of live streams as well, I do still plan to live stream occasionally on the second channel. Come May, for sure, I will do the weekly live streams on Saturday like I was doing before, insofar as that doesn't interfere with other obligations. But I will still be taking a step back. Like I said, 4 videos a week compared to 6 is a lot more manageable, and there's always the likelihood that that ends up being more like 3 videos a week occasionally, depending on if I even have something to post on the second channel. I don't know. Some of the content is already pre-done. The day that I'm recording this is the day that I'm recording all of the main channel's videos for the month, for example, outside of Thursdays, because those are more time related, but you know, that's besides the point. I have a solid 6 other videos that I'm recording today, for example, and this will take a couple of days to get edited. So April, I'll have plenty of time to readjust, like I said, just to recalibrate, figure out how everything actually fits into my life properly, and especially in accordance to the new job. So that is basically what I'm doing this month. I probably talked that topic a little bit too much to death. I definitely made this video a little bit longer than it otherwise could have been, or optimally should have been, rather. But overall, that's not the biggest deal in the world. It's okay. It is how things are going for me right now. So I'll be sure to update you guys next month in the May state of affairs, whenever that ends up actually coming out. Obviously not for like a month or something, but you know, that I will update on how things are going next month. And like I said, I'll also have that video regarding the new job properly actually coming out later this month. So yeah, that's it. Thank you guys for watching this state of affairs. I really appreciate it. For now, I've been your host, King Crusoe. You can call me KC, and I hope to see you guys in the next video.